it was always a matter of when and not if it would get done. But as of 2 p.m. today, about 1 hour ago, it at last happened. Good afternoon, everybody. Good Monday afternoon, June 10th, 2024. This is the Southside Beat, as we are Monday through Friday, 3 Eastern. On DK Pittsburgh Sports, he's Chris Halicke. I'm Crisan. Mike Tomlin will be around until at least the end of the 2027 season, as the Steelers announced this afternoon. A 3-year extension beyond this season. He was going to enter his final year in 2024 on his current contract, but he will be here through at least 2027 as of today.
I have almost nothing to add to that. It was a matter of when, not if. We knew that this was going to happen at some point. There was no, to me, there was no concern. There was no more. I think there were some people that were kind of hoping that maybe Mike Tomlin would have to feel the pressure of playing in or coaching in a contract season. That's not how this franchise operates. And for a lot of the strides that I think they've made in terms of modernizing some stuff, this is something that I don't think is going to change. And I'm sure we'll get into it. We'll get into the deserved criticism that Mike Tomlin has to face for recent seasons.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I think he's 20 wins away from reaching Chuck Noll in terms of being the winningest coach in franchise history. And those type of coaches, when you rack up that many wins, they don't get easily dismissed, especially whenever you consider the fact that this franchise has had 3 head coaches since 1969. It was nothing that was really going to ever have. It was just, I was never going to ever think that Mike Tomlin was ever really going to be facing, he was going to face some sort of like, he's not going to keep his job or something like that. But
likewise,
like you said, matter of when, not if. And they got it taken care of before minicamp even gets underway. So now the focus from here on out for the rest of the summer in terms of extensions can go to players, not the head coach.
Right. Of course, like you said, the criticism for, I would say, the last 7 years. I mean, they've gotten to the postseason 3 out of the last 4, but they haven't won a playoff game since that 2016 postseason. Like, I understand it, and quite honestly, I'm on board with it to a certain extent, because at some point, 9-8 in every season's great, or above 500 in every season is wonderful. Nobody does that. Very few people are able to win like Mike Tomlin does, and as it's mentioned by Tito here, Tomlin has done so much with less many times, and that's true. I would agree with that, and that includes last season. However, it is very, very valid to note the lack of playoff success in the last 7 years. And 7 years in Pittsburgh time for postseason time is a long time.
It is.
So when they talk about standard, and when they talk about the city of champions, and they talk about Sixburg and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And the Steelers, quite honestly, haven't been that over the last, I would say, 7 years. Now, again, I understand they're always going to be in the thick of it because of Mike Tomlin. They're always going to be a team to watch because of Mike Tomlin. They're always going to be a team that, if it's week 16 or week 15, and let's say it's Steelers versus Chiefs, okay? For example, on Christmas, that's box office. If it's going to be Steelers versus, let's say it's Dolphins, and the Dolphins are fighting for a playoff spot, that's going to be box office because it's the Steelers. Mike Tomlin keeps that brand up. It's a global brand. Mike Tomlin keeps that brand up. There's so much that Mike Tomlin does off of the field that is equally important as what he does on the field. And that obviously factors into everything. But again, you're always going to come back to the last 7 seasons. No playoff wins since the 2016 postseason. Ofer in his last, 4 years, if you want to put it even in that vacuum. They made the playoffs 3 times. They haven't won a game in that stretch, too. I get it. But, again, this was something that the Steelers franchise was always going to take care of. That Art Rooney II was always going to take care of. Mike Tomlin was always going to get that extension. Mike Tomlin was always going to be here past this season. It was a matter of how it was going to get done and honestly lining up that money. Now, the team didn't disclose the financials, or not going to, but
they never do.
You can make a safe assumption that he's getting paid pretty handsomely.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's number one. Head coaches don't get paid chump change, and then it's Mike Tomlin. The resume speaks for itself. Now, again, you and I are both on the same page that the man is not above criticism, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of the time, I'm not trying to get too broad here, definitely not trying to get political at all, but we definitely live in a society in which it's you either think this way or you think this way. And there's not a lot of understanding for those who might see both sides of the coin pretty well. So you get a lot of into this. You're either a 100% Mike Tomlin supporter or you're an absolute hater, and there's nothing in between. Like, no, there's ways to be fair to both sides. And I think, when you look at what Mike Tomlin does at his bare minimum in terms of actual results, I don't think it's too far-fetched to say that he absolutely raises the floor of any team he coaches. If you look at the roster, even for the past couple of seasons, these teams, especially the 2022 team, probably should have been below 500, should have had a losing season. Mm-hmm. And they didn't. We're talking about first season post future Hall of Fame quarterback. We're talking first round rookie quarterback. Yes, but obviously had some growing pains early on through 3 picks in his NFL debut. Not all of them were his fault, but either way, 3 picks is 3 picks. There were growing pains that were going to accompany that, and obviously the quarterback play is very, very important to how the offense performs, and then again also has an impact on the defense. And by the way, that season they were missing TJ Watt for several games because of his injuries. So that team alone probably should have been below 500 and then managed somehow to be 9-8 and in the playoff race until the final week of the season. They just didn't get all the help that they needed. They could have helped themselves by not losing to the Patriots earlier in the season, a very winnable game. They could have really helped themselves if Kenny Pickett didn't throw 3 picks against the Dolphins. They would have came away with either one of those wins. They would have been the team to make it as the final seed, not, I think it was Miami who made it that year. I can't remember. But either way, you look at how he can raise the floor. It's there for everybody to see. It's clear in the evidence. But then again, he's also not above the criticism of, hey, you haven't won a playoff game since the 2016 season. 2017 was probably the best team he's had since the last time the team went to the Super Bowl. And yet they gave up 45 points to the Jaguars at home. Mm-hmm. Right? Like you can't do that. And then 2019, he had to navigate a season pretty much entirely without Ben Roethlisberger and try to figure out a way to navigate through that. Then, now he's also, there are other circumstances he's having to navigate, but it doesn't excuse the fact that, man, not even one playoff win, like not even one, right? Like it's not something that can just be brushed aside. And it's something that Art Rooney II earlier this offseason didn't want to brush aside. I forget what the exact quote was, but he pretty much said, we're sick of it. We're tired of this. We're tired of this underachieving crap. And so that would have a lot of fans go like, okay, well, why in the heck extend this guy whenever he's still got another year on his contract? Well, it's because they think that he's the guy that can help lead them to better pastures, I guess. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Corey muted again, man.
If you nudge this this cable, this microphone cable, it just freezes. I like this comment from Rick, who says players love Mike Tomlin, but Matt Canada and Tara Lawson are simply not elite. He makes Art Rooney money. That's the bottom line. Like, the bottom line is he is good for the bottom line. That's very true. It's a business at the end of the day. Yes, you have to win football games, but again, he's won more football games than he's lost in every season out of 17. That is remarkable. And yeah, I get it. Like, those Super Bowls since whenever it was, I don't even have it in my head. And I wholeheartely disagree with what Brian says, who says if he doesn't win a playoff game soon, it's going to start to become Marvin.
No, he's already achieved way more than Marvin Lewis ever did.
He's never going to be Marvin Lewis. He's always going to be above Marvin Lewis in some capacity like that. Like,
always.
The thing that I would need to see from the Steelers is that they win a playoff game in these next 3 years. They have to win a playoff game in these next 3 years. You can't extend a coach, or 4 years, I guess, 4, 5, 6, 7.
No, I would even say the pressure is on for this season. Now, granted, he's already got the extension, but man, like, they need to end this drought quickly.
They have to.
They really do, because, and listen, let's not pretend here that a contract extension just means there's absolutely no way the Steelers can get out of it. The man can be fired. Mm-hmm. And if this upcoming season is somehow like a complete train wreck, and then that's followed by another complete train wreck, Art Rooney II might finally start getting impatient. And then we might actually see some change. But, like I said, I think, I don't know. I think that urgency, I don't think this contract extension affects the level of urgency that they're having there. I really don't. I think this extension was going to happen either way, but I think the changes that you've seen made to the coaching staff, to the quarterback room, I mean, complete overhaul. Nobody that was in that room last year is there now. It's a completely different room for the most important position in football. Mm-hmm. So I think the urgency is absolutely there still. I don't think this changes that. It's
going to have to be. Like, they're not going to fire Mike Tomlin. That's just not how they're going to do business.
Yeah.
That's not a smart way to do business either, quite frankly. And I understand the moniker of having 3 coaches since 1969, but at some point, they're going to have to draw a line whenever it comes, whether that's 2027, 2026, or so forth. Like, they're going to have to draw a line of when is enough of the Tomlin era. And we made cases, and we saw cases last to say maybe this isn't all what it needs to be, or all that it should be, or all that it can be. And we sat here on this very program, at least I did, I remember, and said, look, like, could they do better than Mike Tomlin? Probably not, at least as dictated by the market. Now, could they go get some young, hotshot, offensive-minded, Ben Johnson type genius? They could. They could try. There's no guarantee that he's going to work out. With Mike Tomlin, you're at least guaranteed to have competitive football teams every year. Now, I understand, again, standard, Super Bowl, Sixburg, all that. I get it. Believe me, I get it. I hear it every damn day. But at the same time, this is a business. And what's good for business is employing Mike Tomlin. It's that simple. The Steelers aren't going to be, forget about 500. They're not going to be in the bottom of the league. They're not going to be picking in the top 10 in the draft. They're not going to be rebuilding year after year after year like some franchises are, including one in the AFC North from about 1999 until about 2021. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be that franchise under Mike Tomlin ever. And look, is middle to upper a good place to be? Middle to with the potential of being upper a good place to be? Sure is. But at the same time, being just in the middle, which is what the Steelers have been doing for the last 4 seasons, is not a good place to be. So again, as you've talked about, as I have talked about, and will continue to stress, I understand both sides of the argument. I understand the need to improve. I understand the need to do better than 9-8 or 8-1 or 10-7, whatever it is. And I understand the affecting the bottom line, keeping the Steelers, keeping Mike Tomlin in place because that's good for business, good for the brand, good for the community. I understand and acknowledge both sides of the equation.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, because the one thing that Mike Tomlin, there was a lot of there's still a section of the fan base that believes that Mike Tomlin only won a Super Bowl because he inherited Bill Cowher's team. And, he won a Super Bowl, the second year that he was, I think the only thing that you can really, the only portion of that I even just slightly agree with is the fact that he inherited a franchise quarterback. That's something, those are things that don't grow on trees, right? You don't just go out, and get to, oh, well, let's get ourselves a franchise quarterback. Like, no, like you have to either luck into one in the draft or you have to either be bad enough to get one, like actually draft one, or you have to somehow hit like the Seahawks did with Russell Wilson by getting one in the 3rd round or something like that. You end up getting yourself one somehow, some way. Or the Patriots with the greatest heist of all time, turning Tom Brady, I shouldn't say the Patriots said to Tom Brady. That's a disservice to Brady himself, but Tom Brady turning, from a 6th round pick into the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. So, though, franchise quarterbacks don't grow on trees. And so I think that the reason why I think there's a more reason for optimism this year is the fact that he's going from a rookie, I'll just say rookie, a 1st round quarterback that probably a lot of people didn't have a 1st round grade on, trying to figure his way through becoming at least a decent quarterback. Instead, he's going for a guy who potential future Hall of Famer, has a lot of skins on the wall, and is coming off a season in which, there were some concerns, but man, the numbers speak for themselves, and they were way better than what we saw from the quarterback position the past 2 seasons. So maybe like with better quarterback play, he's just, he's better equipped, I should say, because Mike Tomlin's best years he's had, obviously, when Ben Roethlisberger was at his best, even whenever he was having to rebuild the defense. Whenever the defense started to have to be completely overhauled, when those late 2000s or even early 2010s defenses, like all those guys started leaving, you have to rebuild the defense. And he did that with going no worse than 8-8. So maybe there's a way that if this defense can stay good enough that he can find, the next franchise quarterback. Maybe that's Justin Fields. Maybe it's a guy that's going to be drafted 2 years from now. I don't know. I think that's something that Mike Tomlin has to try to figure out. And I think that's probably when he's at his best, is whenever he's got a good defense and a good quarterback. And we have yet to see what's going to happen with Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, all that. But
Teresa says Tomlin's cursed by parity and a fan base that won't stomach multiple losing seasons to get the roster to where it needs to truly be a Super Bowl contender. Like, I understand that scope, but also the Steelers kind of do it to themselves too. They're the ones that put it out there every year that we're going to compete, we're going to be competitive, we're going to shoot for the moon, fall for the star. I'm paraphrasing, shoot for the moon, fall for the stars. Like they intently act as if they're going to contend for a Super Bowl every season. There's no.
We're having some serious internet issues from Corey's end here.
That's fine. Whatever. They don't want me to speak my truth.
You need to talk to the Xfinity people about this.
Yeah, man. Really. My point is the Steelers do it to themselves. They're the ones that try every year to put out a championship caliber team. They're the ones that every year, they kept, Ben Roethlisberger was still in the building for probably 2 seasons too long. The Steelers have a part to do with that too. Let's keep in mind. They just recommitted to Mike Tomlin, who, as we are talking about on the dark side of the moon, so to speak, does that 8-8-1 and 9-8 and it gets them around 500 and they win and they contend for the postseason. But on the flip side, on the positive side, they find ways to contend by getting more out of less, as it's been talked about. Like all of these points about Mike Tomlin are completely valid. There's nothing that is sitting here and saying that Mike Tomlin is clearly Bill Belichick, so to speak, or Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have it all figured out. If Mike Tomlin was on the market today, how many teams would be racing to pick Mike Tomlin up?
Yeah,
a lot of them. Now, I will also say that Mike Tomlin is not for everybody. He is not for everybody. That is very clear. But he is for the Steelers. It is so clear. to see that. Again, this whole show, really, this whole conversation about Mike Tomlin has been about pros and cons, positives and negatives, about the positive sides to retaining Mike Tomlin until 2027 and beyond, and the downsides to retaining Mike Tomlin. And it's apparent to the Steelers that the positives outweigh the negatives. And that includes with the bottom line and how business is conducted.
Let's shift course here. We got about 10 minutes left of the show. Obviously, 20 minutes on Mike Tomlin's extension. Obviously, it's the news of the day. I mean, again, we knew it was going to happen, but we definitely needed to make that the theme of the show today. Mandatory minicamp begins this week, begins tomorrow. 3 days worth of practices, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm sure Mike Tomlin will address the media at some point. He typically does anyway, but I'm sure there may even be an extra session. Don't quite know yet, but it wouldn't shock me, so that he can obviously address his extension. But either way, mandatory minicamp begins this week. So 3 days left of content to come from the South Side. And then it's unplugged time. It's the time the league completely unplugs. It's when everybody goes on vacation. So enjoy the next 3 days that are coming up with that mandatory minicamp coming up. And, that's pretty much that. Corey, how forward are you looking to, okay. I don't want to speak for you, but 3 days,
shorts, but everybody has to be there.
Not just that, but it's also a big week for you too. So
it is. For those that haven't heard or haven't seen site stuff on DKPittsburghSports.com just yet, this is my last week with DK Pittsburgh Sports. I have taken an opportunity outside of the journalism field. I am going to make a change that, to be completely honest, it just is about improving my quality of life, about making me a little more available, is about just also chasing something that I really want to do otherwise. And I'll share more about that later in the week. But this was a difficult decision in a lot of ways, because obviously I've done this for a long time. I've had a lot of fun. I've seen a lot of really cool things. I got to live out a dream that I, concocted in some classroom about 10, 12 years ago now. And it's hard to walk away from some things, but also it's really exciting to get to dive into something that I've kind of always wanted to do. And again, I'll share more about that later on, but really appreciate all of you. Appreciate you, of course, Chris and DK and Dolly, for the couple of years here of just memories. Like, I got to experience some amazing things here, and it's been a blast. And like I said, ready to move on. Parents are getting older. Girlfriend and I want to settle down. Got just obligations I want to fulfill. So this will allow me to do that, and just improve things that I want to improve on. So looking forward to the next chapter, but we're gonna have fun this week. It'll be about having fun this week. That's on the field, off the field, in this show. It'll be a good time. So we'll live it up while we can. And don't worry, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying around Pittsburgh. Again, more to come on that. But staying in Pittsburgh, I'll obviously continue to read the site still, and keep in touch with Chris and DK and Dolly and everybody. So it'll be a good time. It'll be a good time, and just time to make a change. Time to open up a new chapter and explore some other things. So really appreciate that.
Matthew asked an appropriate question. Will the show continue? Because obviously one half of it is leaving. So yes, the show will continue. We are still in the stages of talking about what exactly we're going to do. We are hiring somebody that hasn't started that person hasn't started yet. That's not my position to announce that or anything. But we have somebody coming aboard that's going to be helping out on Steelers and stuff. And so we're going to figure something out. But either way, at least for the time being, you might be stuck with me for a little while solo. But
I know who it is. I know who it is, and it's a good hire. I know that. It's a good hire. So you guys are going to be in good hands. Believe me. Again, this is just something I need to do and something I've quite honestly wanted to do as well. So looking forward to it.
Listen, first off, I want to, say, thank you to Corey. Thank you for everything, because he's done a lot, not just for the Steelers coverage, but for just the company in general. Obviously, so many times Corey's not on this show because he's going to cover Pirates, or he's doing something for Pitt, or man, he was in Nebraska covering Duquesne, or, whatever. So, Corey's been, willing to do just about everything. And I'm excited for him for this week, because mandatory minicamp might be probably the most, other than actual training camp begins in terms of football activity. Mandatory minicamp is probably the most exciting week, because it's football and shorts, but it's still the entire team's there. It almost has a precursor feel to what training camp is, like a tiny bit. And so, I already encouraged it, but I'll already do it again. Like, man, it's 3 days, live it up, have fun.
Oh yeah.
And so, it's a fun week to have your final week. So, and just from the comments that we're seeing in the chat, we obviously know how much Corey means. So,
thank you guys. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So it's bittersweet. You're happy for the guy, but you're, sad to see him go. So, definitely, like I said, bittersweet. So, yeah.
Bittersweet to me as well. Don't get me wrong. Like, I love this job. I have a great appreciation for this business. That's why I got into it. But at the same time, you got to make life count, right? And this new opportunity is going to allow me to do a lot more things that I want to do personally. And to be honest with you, just speaking as a human, like, parents are getting older again. My sister's in town. She's settling down. My girlfriend and I want to settle down. So we want to make sure that everything's taken care of, and we can be there, and we can, just enjoy things. And like I said, again, I can chase something that I want to chase. So I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I'm in. It's, again, not easy, but it'll be cool. It'll be cool for everybody. And I know the company's certainly going to be in good hands, through the future. So with that being said, let's sign off for today. We will be back. Well, at least Chris will. This week's kind of weird, because the way that minicamp works, they practice until like 4 p.m. on the south side. Yeah. So with that being said, by the time 3 p.m. hits, I'll have to be on the field to watch things.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty hard for me, at least over the next 3 days, to get in front of a machine. We'll see how that works out. But we'll make do. Chris will be here. We'll make do. We'll figure it out. I'll be there.
We'll figure something out. If we can, Corey and I will go over some stuff. If we can figure out a way to knock out at least one show, because there's no Ramon show this week. DK's going to Serbia this week. So, we'll try to figure out at least one show somehow, some way, in which we can have Corey on to do something, because like you said, the schedule's kind of wonky, and we'll also have to figure out what the heck to do during training camp too, but that's way further down the road. So, but man, 10 of 16 practices in training camp. How jealous are you going to be of that? 10 of 16, the practice starts at 10:30 in the morning.
That's what I wanted last year. Oh my God, you guys are going to be out before the dead of summer hits. Like, you're going to be off the field by the time noon hits. You're going to be, inside when the big heat comes. I'm jealous of that. Big time. I wanted morning practice. I love morning practices. I love morning games.
The only thing that I, because obviously when you first, see like the schedule and stuff like that, you're looking at the dates, because you just thought the times were going to be the same. Because for those of you who don't know how a typical training camp day was, this could be like a post-show type thing, I guess. I don't know. But like a typical day at training camp, when you're covering it, is they have a morning walkthrough. No, we don't watch the walkthrough, but we usually arrive right near the end of it so that we can talk to the players. Because as the players are walking up to the locker room, we are allowed to at least ask for any of their availability and get to talk to them. So that's like the first player availability of the day.
It becomes a free-for-all, yeah.
It does become a free-for-all. And it's very, very hard to get one-on-ones and stuff like that. But, you can every now and then. That's also times where you can work out with the team to talk to coaches one-on-one and stuff like that, and talking even position coaches. So, but that's like all morning. And then you go and you write for a little while, and then there's lunch. And then usually right after lunch, you go and now it's practice. You get there before practice starts, and then you're on the field for the next couple of hours because practice is going on. And then you stay after practice because that's second availability of the day. Mike Tomlin always talks at the end of practice, but then you get to try to pull any players as they're coming off the field to try to talk to them. So we get 2 player availabilities on the days where they practice at the normal time. Now, with them practicing essentially when the way it used to be when morning walkthrough would end, are we only getting 1 availability a day now? Like, that's just so that's like what my mind was looking like. How is this going to, obviously we'll get schedules and stuff like that, but yes, like practices in not the heat of the day is definitely an attractive part of it.
To be fair, our one-on-one conversations with players are always subject to getting blown up. It doesn't matter if it's in Latrobe on the south side at the stadium. It doesn't matter where it is. Those one-on-ones are going to get blown up everywhere. And I think Chris knows how and why. So we'll leave that between us. But, I tried with I'll put it this way. I tried with Cordero Patterson last week, like very much on the side. And all it takes is one person to start walking towards you and it's over. It's over. Yeah. And that's certainly what happened to me. But nothing strange to that. I'm going to miss the food at St. Vincent College, too.
The food, they do take a really good, they take really good care of us there, man.
Sushi bar sometimes, pizza, pastas, Millie's ice cream. They do a good job there.
No, training camp food was always something that was. I'm looking forward to that for sure. But I mean, shoot, they fed us twice a day because a lot of the times, like you get done with those post practice availabilities. They still give you, the media center and the Fred Rogers Center. We go back and we write, and then when we're done writing, they have dinner available, and so you can eat dinner there because a lot of the media stays out in Latrobe for those 3 weeks during training camp. So, it's fun. It's a good time. And are you going to go to training camp this year?
No idea yet. No idea.
Doesn't cost any money.
I know that, but from a scheduling standpoint, I have no idea. Yeah. I just don't. I don't know quite yet because I have to do some training. I have to do some training elsewhere. I'll put it that way.
I do feel like the new schedule is going to cut into the Sharkies time for a lot of the media.
You just won't be able to close it down. You can go.
Sharkies and Dinos. Yeah, those are the two.
You could go. You just can't close it down. That's all.
Yeah,
you got to maintain it.
There still may be some people to close that down.
Well, I know there will be.
I'm not going to say names though.
Neither am I. Chris will be here tomorrow. We'll figure it out for the week because Steelers practice runs long this week. But he's Chris. I'm Corey. This has been the Southside Beat on a Monday. Talk to you soon. Cheers, everybody. Have a good one.